I was sure that this was my life. We do a lot of these things, and this is one of priority of European community for the next 5 years. Basically, of course, it's not cheap. We should contribute to the country. We should contribute to the society. So try to bring innovation in your country. Almost all Italy should be UNESCO place. They go to a summer school in the middle of Alps, just a reputation. It's not true. I was very good in theory, but I was very bad in the experiment. This is a very nice question. Thanks for asking.
Hi, everybody. I start a new project called Career Exam, a series of video interviews with professionals from all over the world, young, mid-career, and senior professionals who are willing to share their insights and in this way help young people on their career path. I'm Anna Harus, a director of a non-profit youth organization in Ukraine called Enlightening Initiative, a career coach for young people, a consultant for the World Bank and other organizations. And my first guest is Dr. Davide Baroli, who is a researcher, a scientist at Università della Svizzera Italiana or University of Lugano in Switzerland, and also my good friend. Hi, David.
Hi, Anna.
I was introduced to David by our common friend in 2021, and 5 minutes after we started our conversation, David sent me about 20 links to various job positions and projects where he recommended me to apply. To say that I was surprised is to say nothing. I was immediately thinking, how can you be so productive and fast in processing information, even outside your area of expertise, outside your profession? So David, tell us how.
I think so that one of the reasons is the motivation of ourselves. So self-motivation to look to different things that may help yourself or also help other one. And I think also you speak about the link for the career. Actually, there is a lot in Europe. There are particular websites for people that works in specific field. I think informatics, we have classical master, but we also have a lot of job and position from university, and particularly in the crisis of Ukraine, we had we had a lot of advertising from academia to students that are in Ukraine to perform research with European scientists and American scientists.
Okay, thank you, David. As usual, very informative from the start. And David, to tell more about David, David is originally from Italy, Milano. He is an applied mathematician, and his area of expertise is mostly biomedical engineering, computer engineering. And besides working at Euler Institute in Switzerland, David is also affiliated with Emory University in the USA. And David is also actively contributing to my NGO work in Ukraine. He has been helping us to find grants and funding from the first days of this full-scale war, for which we are very thankful to David. So David, with so many, you also have connections with prominent scientists from all over the world. Please tell us more about your work and your research in simple terms, so that even my grandma would understand.
So yeah, I would first thank you so much for the introduction. I am an applied mathematician, so my area of expertise is mainly how to apply mathematics to solve a real problem in the world. For instance, of course, we are solving soft problem using hard methods, but we may be in the future try to solve our problem with soft method. That will be a future aiming. So basically, what I'm doing is and focus mainly is on some numerical methods, some methodology mathematics that allow you to first modeling maybe a disease, could be mainly in focus on cardiovascular modeling and cancer modeling. And on the other side, I also focus on how to speed up this modeling in a way that we could answer to the doctor in real time. So the main scope of applied mathematician in this case is to provide an optimal planning, or for which time I need to make a surgery or make again the surgery to the patient, how I can guide the doctor in a case if he cannot access to some image guided. So for instance, in some cases you use ultrasound in the medicine room, in the surgery room, but in some cases you don't want it because are not healthy or are difficult for some patients. So we try to provide them some computer science instrument, somehow as modeling, to prevent if I cut in the places, what is happening next, where the tumor is moving, or if I make a surgery in this way and with this planning, what will happen in the follow-up to the patient itself. So about biomedical engineering, I would thanks, my expertise is basically thanks to my formation. First, I was working in the group of École Polytechnique in École Polytechnique in Lausanne. We have a grant from European community that is of our professor Alfio Quarteroni. So there we worked on cardiovascular aspect. This is my first introduction in the world of how apply mathematics for solving biomedical problems. There is also another example. There is a professor Veneziani in Emory that is the chair, and he worked closely with the hospital of Georgia Tech and the doctor. So the question comes from the clinician. So usually an unmet question. They have some intuition on what could happen if they start some device or if they make some procedure. And we try to answer it from the modeling perspective. So we make some assumption based on what is their experience, and we try to translate in mathematical context. And at the end of the day, with computer simulation, we are able to provide them a meaningful answer for that could confirm or could be completely reject their kind of intuition. Of course, for us, it's a support. We are not clinician. We always try to provide them a meaningful information, and they also come to us to try to understand and give us other feedback. From the other side, I also worked on a particular method to make it real time, because of course the doctor wants to have an answer in 8 hours. Usually, 50% of the time is taken away from elaborating the medical images, and then you have only 50% of the time to provide them a meaningful information from the simulation. And usually it takes a lot. So a lot means it takes weeks or months, and we don't have a week of months to decide the life of a guy. So this is why I focus part of my research on doing this kind of new framework that is model order reduction, that are physical based, and some are not physical based. You can call artificial intelligence, basically.
Okay, I, as a person who is far from applied mathematics, I understand, at least by your answer, that it's quite complex, but it's also not that mathematics or your work is about writing formulas. It's really applied and applicable, and like you complement professionals in other areas, like doctors in the hospitals, like engineers in many fields. So it's very applied and very interconnected with other sciences, as I understand. By the way, David, you are sitting, you have a nice view, a mountain view. Where is it?
So actually, I am in the University of Italian Swiss. So Università Svizzera Italiana, you see on the back, this is the old university. We are in the campus Est. We share it also with Applied University of Italian Swiss that are in the second floor and the floor. So here, the university is mainly focused on different faculty. The one faculty that I'm inside is the Faculty of Informatics. About the other, we have a Faculty of Economics, Theology, and Law. I would say there is also there is one floor of us that is a startup USI, in which we have also startup environment.
So not basically not only a university, but a whole ecosystem in Switzerland. So now we are moving to the main part of our interview, which why it is called exam. I prepared a board with questions. They are colored differently, and you will choose the question by color, one by one, and answer these questions like at an exam. But naturally, there is no right or wrong answer, while in exams there is. It's just valuable experience of you for young people. Please choose the first one, choose the color, and we will start.
Start with the yellow.
Yellow, okay. So the first question is, you have a strong skill of making connections. You worked with large business, startups, hospitals, scientists from many European countries, USA and Asia. How to build network and connections effectively? What can you advise on this?
So, surely the first way to create connection efficiently is if you are if you are an early student, I would say master and bachelor. Nowadays, there are a lot of summer school and winter school. Sometimes are specialized, sometimes are focused on a topic. And there you is the first way that you can meet a very experienced researcher. Of course, instances you should be related to your works. Actually, there is also some award and hackathon. So as well, they are organized by researcher. And this is also another way that you can meet researcher that act research in action. In Europe in particular, but I'm sure that it will be happen very, very soon in Ukraine as an associate member state. We have also a moment that we call Night of Researcher, in which researchers meet the public. This is very direct because they show their research or they gamify a concept. And this is a way to connect research people to population, and they need to disseminate in the population. Other way is that if you are more, your career stage is higher in terms of academia. So for instance, if you're performing a PhD or you are more advanced, you are postdoc or assistant professor, the usual way is to attend international conference. In my field, I could specify, usually we have two kind of international conference. One is ECOMAS, that is an engineering conference. It's global wise, and you have famous and distant professor from the vice president of US Army to a guy that is working in geological site, some people from European Space Agency. So, and also professor in global wise that we make disruption technology, disruption research in the field of engineering and apply engineering with computational science. So this conference is always in Europe and in the United States.
If, for instance, I'm a researcher who doesn't like communicating with people that much, I enjoy work on my own, what would happen to the career of a researcher if you don't collaborate, don't make connections with other professionals?
So, of course, you can be an independent researcher and isolated in the community. One of the issues that you face is that your works first are not cited. So based on that, you will not receive grants. Maybe you are brilliant, you discover something totally new that will be very useful for our community and will be not addressed from the community. So you don't produce an impact. And this is very important because whatever a human brain is able to develop need to be useful for all community, need to be shared to all community. This is the basic of making ethical research and making something for people.
I understand. So basically, if the stereotype about scientists who just sit in their labs alone is broken now because it's impossible in the modern world where everyone collaborates and makes new research directions.
Actually, it was also important to use consolidate experience of other researchers. It's reinventing the well is not even useful. But then you are in a moment in which we do usually global research. Thanks to COVID-19, now you see sometimes that we have a seminar online, even on YouTube, that are published. So why not using this moment to connect to distinguished research and distinguished group and collaborate each other?
So we continue with the board. Next question, what color?
Blue color. There is two blue.
This is purple.
Okay, blue.
Okay. Please give one example of how your research helped people.
So in that case, I can make an example of my research. We study a particularly cardiovascular disease. This is called aorta dissection. So it happens to someone that's in which the fluid, the blood fluid of inside the aorta, it's try to getting out from the vessel. So the vessel become permeable, and then it bring to mortality. It's the mortality rate is 90% and need to be detected in time, and you need to perform the surgery in time. So this is thanks to I'm not alone, of course. I'm cooperating with a leader professor, Alessandro Veneziani, and the team of one of the, I think, a very famous surgeon in the United States, because the guy that invented the cardiac valve, and this patent, and is used everywhere in the world. So, and there is also many other doctors. There is there is the other people in the Georgia Tech Hospital. They provide images and they provide clinical support. And also we have to thank Siemens that also elaborate and provide other insights. It's a Siemens Healthcare that we strictly collaborate there. So what is our contribution? Our contribution, as I said before, we provide computer simulation toolbox or frameworks so that we can save life. So once Alessandro told me that they could save the life of a child because they make the surgery in time.
Thank you. It was quite understandable for people who have nothing to do with biomedical engineering. I think it's clear that the speed of how you investigate the disease it matters for the person's life. So next question.
Green.
Okay. There is such a popular and trending word as interdisciplinarity. How do you understand it, and how does interdisciplinarity look in your work?
So, to be honest, interdisciplinarity come to me as my first as an experience, actually, and during my PhD in Politecnico Milano in the chair of Fabio Quarteroni, I started an interdisciplinarity, a sort of bridge. I always like to call it a bridge, because we bridge mathematics to nuclear engineering. It borns from, I would say, a lunch together with a friend that is studying engineering. He was PhD like me, and we say he present me his colleague Alberto. They perform some methodology that is very slow, because for running the simulation takes more than 1 day, or they say we need to do it in real time for making control of the reactor. We cannot wait 1 day for getting the answer. So we say, and they tell them, why not using model order reduction? And with why not, we start collaborating each other. I start to learn nuclear engineering. I'm not in nuclear engineering, so I started to study neutronics. That is one of fundamental equation simulation there. And so the question comes from then the point is, they say, okay, we can use it in this field. We also have an experienced researcher in their group, is Ashini Nokata, that was one of consultant of one of the reactor, even the one that is failing in Fukushima. So it's the point for them, and it was recognized by American Nuclear Society for Fluid Dynamics. So we start working together, and we try to apply this technique in all their physics. This is coming maybe to one of question of yours. So this is another important feature of my side, is to do multi-physics. It's another kind of multidisciplinarity. So yeah, interdisciplinarity means the cooperation between different fields, which put in this way, cooperation between different experts, cooperation between different research in different fields. They try to apply their kind of methodology in the other field or the other one, but it's also important that they start to speak the same language. So it's a long process. First, you need to study the field of the other one, and vice versa.
sounds like today modern research is basically impossible about interdisciplinarity, because I'm just wondering how before, like when the science existed 100 years ago, 200 years ago, there was less interdisciplinarity, right? It was not so necessary. So why does interdisciplinarity increase the quality of research now? As I understand, interdisciplinarity means that scientists should try to complement each other's research and produce more high quality results together than if they worked alone. And to try to complement it not only in within one research group or one country, but within the whole world, to combine the expertise of many research scientists in many areas of expertise.
So I would say that I believe that interdisciplinarity was also before. It's not, actually the only difference is that we are in the modern age, so we have more instrument than before. I believe that in the 80s they don't have, they cannot write an email each other, right? And then they cannot chat maybe on a social media. But they have more the time. The people maybe they write a letter one to each other. That is their way to communicate, and maybe when they're lucky, maybe they call each other with the phone. But they meet in a conference. The conference exists for more than 50 years old ago. So the difference is mainly is not the people that doesn't perform interdisciplinarity. Now they have more instruments, more way to social connect each other than before. And this is very disruptive, you want to say. Of course, several people, they still work together alone. They work in all the part, and we cannot blame them. Of course, they perform a good job, but it's not a job for advancing the science globally everywhere. So now, to me, in my opinion, I think we have the scope is to try to contribute globally to the global research, because we should make advance the country. We should contribute to the country. We should contribute to the society. So this is an educative aim of research. Otherwise, it's not meaningful for all, and it's also a goal of our life. It's based on our value, the ethic of the society, and on the ethic of a civil society must be directed in that direction.
So let's continue with the questions.
With the purple?
Purple, okay. Let me take it. How do you use computer science and programming in your work? Most people have this common idea, if people work far from computer science, that computer science is about developing a mobile application or a website, but in research it must be something different, completely different than this stereotype.
So yes, so we use computer science in many fields, in particularly very easy very direct applications that a mathematician usually develop an algorithm, but then need to apply the algorithm. How? So you need to develop a software with language. So we have different language in computer science. Most common now is Python, C++, C#. So we have different kind of language when we code, and so we translate our algorithm in a language. Of course, you don't hire a computer scientist. There is an applied mathematician that study a bit of computer scientist and will apply computer. We will try to develop at least a prototype of our algorithm in a software to provide the results. Why is necessary? Then, of course, we come in other questions. So we make it efficiently, we make it scalable. So means, let's say that we make a simulation for epidemiological cases. We have high performance computing in Europe and United States. In particular, in Europe, we have a new program in NeuroHPC, where every country almost to Europe buy a high performance computer that costs $1.5 billion, almost only the case for the maintenance. So we have high performance. It guarantees for all researchers to use it, and also provide courses and master courses to students to try to educate to use this kind of hardware and technology.
So just to summarize, in your work currently as an applied mathematician, you cannot go without programming and software development and computer algorithms.
Yeah, for currently, it's complete. Of course, it's possible, but it's still possible for some reason. We can, of course, making a theoretical paper, but in the moment that you make apply paper for biomedical field, computational engineering itself, as you say, the word computation, you need to perform simulation with the computer.
We still have 6 more questions.
Red?
Red, okay. So, what is your career goal?
So my career goal is actually I'm a researcher, so I want to become a group leader and in future or permanent researcher or assistant professor.
So just to understand, as a person who doesn't know the career hierarchy in Europe or in research, you're saying that you would like to be, aim to be a group leader. So now you work mostly as a part of a team, a group, as I understand correctly, and you have your area of responsibilities in research, right? And you would like to be the one who initiates the research and shares, divides the areas of responsibilities between other researchers. Is that what you are aiming for?
It's correct, but I also thank my institution that allowed me, give me a lot of freedom in research. So thanks to the chair, I can also create initiative, create proposal, grants. Of course, I will involve the chair in every discussion, intermediate. We create this kind of grants. But here in Europe and everywhere in US, even if you are a researcher, you can propose yourself with initiative, create grants. You are not, is not a static hierarchy. That is not, everywhere is not. I can may mention a grant from European Community. It is called Marie Curie Individual Fellowship. There, of course, there is a mentorship for some professor, but it starts from individual. So it's a researcher that write the grants and submit the grants at his own. Then he chooses some affiliation in which he could implement his works. He can use the expertise of some professor and some considered team, but it starts from individual. It's not hierarchy that professor tell what you have to do. Of course, you have to do a duty because you are paid by a grant, because here I also seem to mention that the research is not a permanent job. Even a professor is not a permanent job. We are always reviewed by outside, and always we have to attract grants and write publication. The ecosystem globally in research is not only perform our own research. We're not, I will not say the word Soviet, but it's not the Soviet idea of or socialist or communist idea that the research need to work in the university and is always paid by the government. Is that the government have the right to judge. The researcher have the right, the external review have the right to see the merits of the research produced. And a way to quantify it is grant writing, number of paper written, meaningful of the research, measure of outcome, and measure of the delivery.
So sounds like researchers need always to be in tonus, so to say, to be competitive in your field, to have job offers, and but also you have a lot of freedom to choose what actually to do, what subject to investigate, what area to work in, be it material science, geophysics, biomedicine, nuclear energy. So you have a lot of freedom, but also a lot of how to say, a lot of work to do to be competitive.
Yes, also to have this freedom.
So there is a price for everything, I would say. It's just the price of a researcher. But for every career, you need to know the price for personal satisfaction and freedom to have in your area. Let's continue.
Okay, the first, black.
This one, okay. Black is, how does your typical working day look like?
I go usually to my office. We have a computer, and I spend my day there. And we also spend a meeting discussion with a colleague. And yes, sometimes basing on we make also internal trip in other institute to discuss or to meet or to validate our results. We need to meet each other and work each other. This is typical day. There are some, of course, exceptional day in which we travel around Europe and US for conference, for inviting or visiting period.
So sounds like you are basically limited only if you have some meetings scheduled with your team or if you have some scheduled trips. But aside from that, you are completely free to plan your working day and your schedule. And do you have many deadlines, for instance, or are deadlines flexible?
So yes, there are many deadlines. I would say from project of federal office. We have internal reports to write in which we progress the advance. We have some deliverable that is like paper that we have to write, and there is some fixed time every 3-6 months basically. And then I'm co-PI of principal investigator on a European project. Is under Eureka PC. In that case, every 3 months we have to write a report to European community on the advance on the project. So in this way, they will, and we should deliver the goals that we claim at the beginning of the proposal, and that is the metric that they decide based on the fact that we achieve our deliverable and that was able to provide them the results that we claim at the beginning. Is also a metric of if they provide us the next tranche or not.
Do you feel like you sometimes hectic, like you are very hectic and you are not delivering something in time? Do these situations happen often?
Okay, of course there is always the risk. So there is some risk of not deliverable. Could be happen that for some technical cases, a partner was not able to give you the data, so you cannot process. It's a consequence, or maybe you think that the method works, and when you implement it, then you see the efficiency was worse than the other.
We have 4 more questions.
Okay, so the one on the first row, the red.
Pink. Okay.
Pink is fine.
How do you choose your research topic? For instance, when you are for a master's thesis or for PhD thesis?
Okay, so for the master thesis, I have the pleasure and the opportunity to go in a huge team of Fazio Quarteroni in Lausanne. He has these grants from European community that is ERCs and individual grants. I would stress it's very important for the European community to have these grants for the professor, because they can make independent research and it's very impact on everyone. And in that case, I see the poster. He gave me some scientific article that he wrote and of his groups, and scientific article related to the subject. And then he told me, okay, if you're interested, let's do it. There was a research challenge, of course. There is, in that case, was just that the algorithm has some bottleneck, and so first we try to solve the bottleneck, and then we publish a paper that resolve the bottleneck itself. It was already a challenge, and this is why I choose the topic. Of course, I speak also with. We have lunch every day with all the unit postdoc professor. We talk together. We discuss what we like, what we are interested also about is not research, so something outside research is the social life. We organize some event outside the university. Yes, in that time also I've made apartment, shared apartment with another student. It was in the École Polytechnique study robotics, and maybe we discuss something else. We have time to discuss of several things, make events, maybe make a barbecue on the lake. So that is why I choose this topic, and I was very interested because it was a really challenge, and the effectiveness was really important. It's also why my first step in applied mathematics for real. Before, I had to say that I go for a summer school in Polytechnic of Zurich during the master, and then after I finish the master, I go to a summer school in the middle of the Alps. It's organized on a methodology that is called multi-scale methodology, and it is basically what I submit as my grants in the PhD. So in the PhD work differently. Basically, I submit a grant to Swiss. I get rejected for some reason related to maybe the topic, or some reason related to the agency. The agency claim that is okay, it's effective. We keep as a feedback. And on the other times, in the same times, I also submit a research grant, research proposal to Italian minister. It's more in Politecnico, is also where my advisor as a chair, and was related to another subject, is porous media, and it was based on the methodology that I learned in the intensive summer school in the Alps before the PhD. And then I get the competition. The competition was also very strict. We have 40 participants. They grade us based on our results in the master. So basically on the mean, the grades. At that time I have, I would say, A plus. And based on the thesis, based on the fact that you write already a publication, you make already a seminar, and you make already a presentation at a conference.
Okay, so it sounds like when you are already in the process of doing research, you basically, the ideas are born through collaboration, through communication with your fellow colleagues, and just through your personal exploration. But when you are just starting this journey, like you are just a student, I believe you choose your topic based on what interests you simply, but also what interests you should match the funding of your department, of your supervisor, correct?
Yes, this is correct. But that grant, for instance, you can choose whatever you want because you write yourself, and then is the committee that is judged if it is sufficient to them. So in that case, it was about multi-scale for porous media. The department worked with a national company called Eni for hydrocarbon. We have a special R&D there. There is a special R&D service that have a long-term collaboration with the department. So it was inserted like, okay, this is not funded by the company, but could contribute to the company works, and that's it. So,
but I also would like to stress that not only the mentors, senior researchers are important for the student, for
of course,
an early career researcher, but I would like to stress what I know from your CV, from your professional past, that as you said, when you were a PhD, you basically your research was so successful with your friend that you mentioned it helped your supervisors win a lot of grants from the European Commission, to collaborate with the industry. So it's really impressive that PhD students, they can actually make a huge contribution into the research of the department, the whole university. And
yes, true. This maybe is good to mention the storyline. It's true that was born in, like, say, like a lunch day, and yes, it was very impressive because at the beginning we work together. We say why not, and we try to. I invite them for a formal seminar in my department. I always to ask to thanks my department, and there was Davide Barolli, that was the professor that coordinated this kind of seminar. He totally support me in performing this activity. Say it was very great to make a bridge between departments, as always is one of the aim of all the groups. And so I invite the other PhD to our PhD school to make a seminar to everybody. There are I also have to thank all my colleagues because they were very kind to be present. There was also our head and all professors of the unit, so we have like 100 people, and they make impressions, so how a contribution could be. And also there was an external professor, and also a friend that he before was lecturing in École Polytechnique, but then later he moved to SISA, so it's a superior study university in Trieste, and actually also in NERC. So I learned from him the technology, the technique, the methodology, so we start work together on that field. So the other two, so the yellow.
Yellow, orange, okay. How did you choose your profession? Why applied mathematics? Why research in academia?
Well, this is a very nice question. Thanks for asking. So basically, there is not a proper answer, but let's put in this way. I like mathematics in high school. Before doing the PhD, the bachelor, I guess some preliminary courses in the university. They always promote it. I attend basically two, one in philosophy. This was my first choice. The second one was chemistry. So I spent 2 weeks in State University Milan in chemistry, playing with chemistry. I was very good in school in chemistry, but then the researchers showed me how it is researching chemistry. So I was very good in theory, but I was very bad in the experiment setup. So maybe I make explode the lab if I stay there more longer. It's not my former skill to stay in the lab and make experiments. So it's not what my attitude. So I'm pretty sure I will find difficulty in even or passing the exam or making it in excellent way. Then yes, I do a preliminary. There was preliminary courses with some tests in State University for mathematics, and they say, fine, let's do it. I also have to say that I tried Politecnico because at 4 years you can do exam and make exam and pass it. Fine, but at the end of the day, I say, okay, let's do mathematics. We have also, the class was small. We are 40 students. That's also helped a lot because in the third year we are like 10. So attending a class also was a part of making the exam because you learn directly from classes. So when you have 8 hours, you go home and you have no time to study. You're already tired. You have 2 hours of tripping every day, 2 hours to reach and 2 hours to go back. So it was already using that time also to study, but it's really impossible. So yeah, I choose it. Then I think that the spring from study math and go to academic and research was mainly in 2 moments of my life. One moment was when I do the bachelor thesis. I was not an applied mathematician at the beginning. The thesis I do on superior algebra was theoretical stuff, but applied to computer science somehow. I meet some researcher. I like how they work. Then my native perspective is to do applied mathematics. I was also lucky. I met a professor in Milano that was brilliant in his work, Spavarino, that is also, I think, during my PhD is also external reviewer in the commission. I also say that we, as a small university, we have almost 7 students, and we are 30 or 40 professors and 7 students. These professors, they do more research than teaching, for sure. And so that's why it shaped me in the direction of that research is my field. And then I go to Swiss, and in École Polytechnique, it's already a dream. So you see science every day. University is open 24 hours. It never closes. We have a party inside, yes. There is hackathon, yes. You find people in the lab at midnight, yes. You have this bibliothèque center that is famous over all the world. This is the learning center of the École Polytechnique. That is also an architectural has an architectural shape that is like a cheese, and it's amazing. You are inside. We have a big bibliothèque. You can have whatever you want. So basically, of course, it's not cheap. I had to mention it is not cheap at all. In that moment there was not fellowship to go abroad, and yeah, it was expensive, but was an investment. So I invest on the fact that I was sure that this was my life, and I think it pay off a lot.
Good to hear that. Also, you forgot to mention that you always seek new challenges and complexity in your work. So I think this is also what contributed your career into your career journey and career choices. And now two last questions.
Yes, take the one on the white.
Yeah,
it's white, right?
Yeah,
the sun is totally challenged me.
You worked in many countries, institutes, universities, with big business. You also worked with startups, with hospitals, right? So non-profits, many areas and spheres. How do you choose where to work next? What will be your next workplace? What criteria do you have?
So the criteria are mainly 5 that will be both pragmatic and short. So first criteria is the groups. To me, it's really important, the groups. So I look to the professor, their works, their international consolidation in the community. Also the empathy, that is very important because you have to work with them all day. So you choose someone that is empathic, and let's say it's not really cold, it's more warm relation, I would say. You need to enjoy your work every day, so that is also part of the game. Then the project itself, it's important. So the project to me have to have an impact. In Germany, I learn how to work in consortium. Here, the project is a consortium plus my external project, but I would say in general, it's a long-term project, a long view. So you need to do a very fundamental works at the beginning, and then but it's carry on during at least 5 years. And this is very important to have less uncertainty because let's say changing the job every years doesn't allow you to establish and doesn't allow to create grants, or say if you fail grants, then it's a problem you have to change again. And it creates too much uncertainty and pressure that are not related to your research job. So that is another reason of choosing a contract, is the one that allows you to stay for more time, so you have more opportunity to consolidate. The other place, of course, I would not be hypocrite. Yes, the salary is also matter. So Switzerland usually offer, I would say there are three things that offer Switzerland. First thing is the institute and research is amazing place to work. You see directly from the building how much the state invests in it, in comfort. So the research need to be in a comfort place. So put research at the top, and also student. Also student need to be studied in a comfort place.
So in Switzerland, you chose this as your current workplace because of the environment, the welfare situation in the country, and you also mentioned the importance.
There is, of course, to be not hypocrite, you choose also by economical factor, welfare, healthcare. Of course, we are not hypocrite. We also keep that in the loop. We are not important. We are not priority, but at the third place, you also put them. So the first moment, also I need to put at the fourth motivation is very distant from my family, just 50 kilometers. I am at home. It's also somehow a fair point. But nowadays you have, of course, airplane, and of course you don't. If you're in US, it's more complicated. But yes, that is also a point. Of course, for career. But for career, it depends. You can go in the United States, be assistant professor, and then be professor. It's more fast to be to do research career in the United States than in Europe. That's for sure.
Yeah, but also I want to mention that it's possible. It's probably in Switzerland you have a lot of industry players, and you mentioned before that working with the industry for a researcher is quite productive and quite important. You mentioned that when you work with the industry, you are more famous, you receive more funding, and it's just
Yeah, well,
that.
yeah, working with industry is important part of your. It's not receiving more funding. Sometimes it's more also put some create impact. So your research will be impact for the community. I also don't want to discard the people that they also do STEM or education with the society. They also have received. They're also well supported. There is particular funding for performing and contribute also to increase the education in high school. We can make an example. In one country that I live is Luxembourg. We are there first in Europe for education. They achieved these results this year, and the state invests really a lot in education and international education. There is one state school with more than 120 nationalities. So it's also important not only the education, the inclusion, and the diversity and intercultural connection with everyone.
Okay, and the last question here we have. Sorry,
Right.
it has been must have been quite a long exam. So, what do you do in your free time?
Okay, free time exists, of course. So I spend some time with the family. That is very important for reduce the stress. With also the pet of the family that also help me to reduce a lot the stress of daily life. I live actually, as you see from the background, it's a nice place. So I live in the middle of the Alps, and basically there are a lot of possibilities to working outside, the cultural heritage. So I spend time also in contact with nature. That is also important for reduce stress and concentrate more and meditate more. And of course, we have some social events with friends, colleagues in the city center, or we keep some rest on the top of the hill. Or we go together for the sailing in the lake. And then I spend also some of the time starting from 1 year ago. I would also thank Anna and Igor to give me this opportunity. It was very nice. Spend time to do some work in no profit, and it's a very it gives you additional stimulus and additional goal in your life. So it's another dimension, if you want to say. We have a dimension of work, a dimension of family, but also a dimension contributing to help support people. They are very kind, and they would say a lot of. I think you are lucky, so lucky to have them in your country. So they make they contribute a lot, I would say, from perspective of European. So yeah, that's that opportunity. Then I also expand to the fact, thanks to my cousin, because his boyfriend Daniele is one of our international Paralympic champions for blind water sports. He create a no-profit in Italy in which they promote sport activity for children, but also they also support research in the university, but provide funding to them sponsor to create a new technology for digital technology for children early visual impaired. So in their kind of no-profit, I play more the role of writing the grant. So I use some encouragement of researchers and try to explain them in their no-profit. At the moment, we submit several grants, even to European community. They have more than 400 children around Italy. So also present in national television promoting no-profit for disability children. And so supporting globally also activity of other associations. Not at the moment we are making, we are creating some international collaboration with United States. and then there is another non-profit in Costa Rica where we are starting basically the same activity, and we are looking also to something that is not my field, is marketing or social inclusive tourism. We have in Costa Rica, they have one of the national parks that is fundamental heritage of all humanities called Biosphere Park. This is very important for climate change. So we should make it available also for people with disability and tourism with disability. So everyone could experience everything. So living with nature, go to tourism, make leisure time. That is the goal. So it's not related to mathematics, as you see, but through that, I know some startup. There was a startup from Swiss in which we decided to create a startup for allow or help people that are blind to run in the street without a cane. That is classical instrument that you see that they use it. Of course, it's not one day from each other they swap from technology to from old technology to new technology. They need to be trained, but this is something possible. So we should use more instruments that we know for helping people.
And also you can mention that you are mentoring a lot of people, I suppose. For instance, me. So this is also what you do in your free time, I suppose.
Yes, but it's also reversely. So I learned something more that I never learned before.
Nice. So this is not a part of the career exam, but I just would like to ask you, what advice can you give to young Ukrainian people?
So one thing that they should do, or they must do, is a civil survey of Europe. They should do it because they will travel in Europe, and they also help other people. This very innovative initiative. They should be involved. Another thing that should be involved in is creating association, foundation, startup on STEM to try to leverage the technology of high school children in mathematics and other things, mathematics, physics, engineering. Also, don't discard humanity. You have also a huge cultural heritage there, and there is a lot of challenge in digital history. It's really important. You should never forget. So there is also in Europe we do a lot of these things, and this is one of priority of European community for the next 5 years. And I say it as Italian, where we have almost all Italy should be UNESCO place, UNESCO awards, because we have a lot of cultural heritage from all people that colonized us in the past, even Arabs. We have French, Spain, German. Of course, we have a Roman. We colonized someone else, and Greece. So we find all this cultural heritage. We like to preserve it, and you should also support with math. We can support them to restore them and keep accessible to everyone. So I think it's a great challenge. Yes, and then what I suggest is to start to more look into European projects that allow you to develop a new skill, non-formal acknowledgement, non-formal skill, non-formal lecture, but also travel in Europe, and not only establishing Europe, but once you have enough knowledge and consolidate, come back to your country and try to change it. So try to bring innovation in your country. That is also important, because if you will be European, we are citizens of all same country. So we should improve all the country in the same way. So they will be more intercultural and less national. That is the direction we will go in this way. In the European culture, this is fundamental. We have. I don't mention, but in Luxembourg University, for instance, we have colleagues from all the world. I think you find one for each country. This is quite amazing. In Swiss, it's almost the same. In Italy, you also have a student sometimes a new professor or come from other country. It's open to everybody. So that is a great possibility. You should take it. And there is a lot of possibility for people that study in Europe, in US. They open a lot of positions. The idea of this position is not that we keep it here for all your life, but you learn new feature, new skill. You create. You have your own inventive. We support you, and then maybe next you come back to your country and you try to revolutionize it from all the perspectives. So what you learn in Europe about how we manage our country, how the administration is working, how is our law. So you get the controversy. Of course, it's not perfect. We don't say we're perfect. We say it's controversy sometimes, but we have always tried to fix it. And maybe something that is here and is not there, you can try to change it. So this is really, so the next generation has the objective to change actually the country. So this is what we try to do. In now, my experience is very small. Some of my students, they are startuppers. They are in the company or as manager or director. Some are vice president of R&D. One is a startup and they create another one and hire other 100 people. He was introduced by his advisor that is director of Disney, and then he developed the product, and then he go further. Then there are the new students that they work they don't work some all in Switzerland, some are working in Switzerland, some in Spain, some in UK, some in United States. So they are spread. We keep all in touch, of course, and I will try support if they have a problem in their career. And vice versa, there was one of my ex-students, Santo, that helped also Anne and Igor in creating the chatbot. So he worked in Swiss Post. It's a startup. It's No Time, it's called. It's a worker for Swiss Post. Their aim is to deliver a package in 3 hours from when a company receives the order. It's a revolutionary. Yeah, Post Swiss also say that is the fastest in the Europe and fast in the world. Same day you arrive the package and you don't know how. The point. They may use drones. That's what they use. But yes, it's really nice. So you see, they want to contribute and they did it. So they also grow not only in the company, but they also grow personally. That is very, very important.
Thanks a lot for such an inspiring note. So at this point, we will wrap up this interview. Do you have something to add, David?
No, I think I would thank you again for all the time being. That is passing up almost 2 hours. I would thank you and your CTO of No Profit. So thank for the possibility and if anyone have any comment or any request or any feedback, let them write to me or forward to one, and then if you can forward to me any information they need.
I would like to also thank the European Union under the program House of Europe, which funded my project and made this interview possible, among other initiatives. And I would like to thank you, David, for such an inspiring conversation, for showing our listeners what a researcher looks like, how to make impactful research, do impactful research, and inspiring us to, with your skill, to learn fast, and inspiring us to always seek new challenges and go beyond our area of expertise and learn new fields, new areas, and be professional. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Anna. Ciao.